right, this is Black Dog Salvage podcast, season 1, episode 5, the James House. Can't you see that right there?
I'll edit it in.
All right.
James House
Podcast.
Let's get into it.
All right.
All right.
Hey, everybody. Mike
Hey.
Whiteside here with
Hey, Whiteside.
Black Dog and the Black Dog podcast.
We are back at it again. It has been so cool to see the podcast grow,
Yeah.
even the little bit that it's grown over the 5 episodes we've done on the return.
Yeah, this is, I've been talking about it with folks and just telling them, what we're doing. You and I sit here and chew the cud.
Yeah,
So to
people
speak.
say they like that, apparently.
Yeah,
So,
it's trying not to suck. That's my daily mantra.
daily affirmation.
Yeah, let's see if we can keep it together here.
Well, we can start off a little bit with some comments from last week.
All right, people are talking.
Yeah, Paul Lazenby said, I love these. It has kickstarted me watching the series from the beginning again. You boys look so young.
Yeah, I was big and fat, and yellow teeth, and
You were definitely the rounder.
I was much rounder. Yeah, better shape,
Well,
a round shape that is.
the round is a shape.
And he had his baby face.
I sure
For
did.
the first season, trying to figure out his facial hair.
Ken Adams said, I hadn't heard the term Greeking before, so thank you for that info. Greeking is, of course, the production term for blurring a logo, or it's probably more broad, hiding something or disguising something.
Right,
maybe.
in plain sight, yeah. Debranding.
And he goes on to say, rewatching Salvage Dogs, it's interesting to see the evolution of the 1, 2, 3, and in parentheses, 3, 2, 1, dogs before a job. Can you talk about how that came to be?
It was just something to kind of start us off, unify us in the show. I mean, when we were starting to do salvage, it's the only time that we really did it.
Yeah.
Was when we were getting ready to launch into a salvage job on site,
Right.
and it was just kind of a cheer.
It's almost like a cut point,
Yeah.
You knew the montage of work was about to start as soon as we did
exactly.
the 1, 2, 3
Hey,
dogs.
bring it in here. We all kind of got into the center there, and it's a little uniting, kind of get our mojo going.
We didn't do that before the show. That was that part existed.
That only came, and then they took it out at close to the end. We quit doing it. I mean, we did it, but they wouldn't show it. For some
End of an
reason.
era.
Yeah, they take all the fun out
Things
of it.
just started dropping off one by one.
Well, that's the nature of things. When you do something long enough, they'll change it on you, and change is good.
Change can and should be good.
It's good.
Steve McCune says, D and I enjoy the pods. I don't know who D is, but
Hey, D.
great. Keep them coming. See you soon. Would love more info about the boat form, repurposed into a rolling shelf that we purchased out of the Stone House when visiting. So these are some Stone House guests.
Oh, well, that
Steve and D McCune, I'm guessing.
I'm not sure what that pattern was, but it was a pattern that came out of the, Philadelphia Shipyard Foundry.
Where all those patterns came, huh?
Yeah.
Well, some came from the Heckard's place.
Yeah, there's 3 sources, but that was one. There was another one up in Pennsylvania I got from, and then there was definitely the one in, I guess it was Princeton.
Yeah.
And it was, God, I can't remember the guy's name. He called himself the Crow. And he was
I remember him.
Yeah.
We got our truck stuck in his yard
that's right. That's
in
right.
Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a nice guy. He was a metal artist,
Yeah.
sculptor, and that particular one, I don't know what it was. I've got one more just like it, and I just one Saturday I said I'm just going to see what I can do with these. So I pulled a slab of walnut that I owned, and then took that piece and kind of manipulated it a little bit, put some casters on it, and made a shelf. And I think it was probably an inspection port or a cover to maybe a gearbox of some sort. I'm not sure, but because it had like hinges on it. Of course, I took one side of the hinge and put it up on the top just to kind of balance it out a little bit. So it's not original, but cool piece though. I still had to write in on it where the vents were supposed to go.
Right.
And if you know anything about casting, it's a pattern which is a positive, to create the mold, which is the negative, to create the piece, which is another positive. So it's back and forth. So it's lighter, it's made of wood, and it's all handmade, which you got yourself a jewel there. I remember building every bit of that thing, and I'm glad you guys got it.
That's such a cool thing that Black Dog bought and we got to build stuff out of, because the sheer amount of manpower that each one of those foundry patterns had in it.
Yeah.
The labor it took to hand make these positives for what would be future metal parts.
And these guys were making them by hand with a slide rule, not a calculator, not a CNC. They were, and I've got some, there's not one straight edge on anything. Compound angles, curves.
That prop is my favorite.
Yeah, I still got a couple of those. One in really good shape. You go to our website and see it, blackdogsalvage.com.
Tiguan 2009 says, I remember Chicken Man. Keep it up. Great conversation.
I'm a little sore throat here, so I can't really do the Chicken Man thing. But yeah, he's everywhere. He's everywhere. It was a radio theater, is what it was. I grew up listening to him. The Adventures of Chicken Man.
Carolyn Oliver on Facebook says, one of my favorite shows. Hate that it isn't on anymore, but the boys aren't as young as they used to be.
No kidding, Carolyn. I tell you what, every day.
Yeah.
I just show up.
Right. Gloria Peters, we get this one a lot. Will you ever start making new episodes? Miss all of you.
Negative.
I think this is the new form of episode that we will be making.
Yeah, all we got is what we did, and will live on.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll live on way past us, and people will see us, when the aliens come.
Yeah,
Maybe,
we could offer it to the aliens as an example of a window into our culture.
Yeah, there you go. That's what we were. We were definitely
we were the everyman.
We were the reality TV is, if you go back to it, like This Old House and all these shows that were kind of the early ones. It's gone full circle from every genre you can think of.
Yeah.
So. But, one thing about it, everybody thinks they can be on reality TV. You can, but, you have to pitch it. You have to sell it. People got to buy it. And
hopefully you're okay with any changes they might make or request.
Yeah, it doesn't come easy. Everybody thinks they show up and follow us every day, and that's as far away from the truth as possible. Most reality TV is scripted, meaning that they prep the host and the guests with dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
And ours wasn't.
And now is in a minority. Our show is one of most are scripted.
Exactly.
Most are done the exact same way.
Yeah, if you see a commercial that we did,
punchline.
I'm terrible. Yeah. I mean, it's like I'm reading that from us.
You guys did some Honda commercials for a little while.
It was awful. But hey, let me drive a Honda.
You got a free Honda.
Well, I didn't get a free one. I got a free use of one.
That's right. We put some miles on that thing.
I
did.
For
sure did.
I
think I remember you could hauled some big stuff around for a Honda Ridgeline.
I knocked the window right out the back of that thing. I do some crazy stuff.
You pulled a Elon Musk and broke the window of your own car.
It looks like a truck, but believe it or not, it's not.
It's a car.
Yeah.
It's a monocoque chassis car.
It'll pull my Hobie cat down to the beach. That's all I needed.
There you go.
At that point.
Well, that's the endorsement.
Yeah. Buy Honda, pull your Hobie. If anybody doesn't know what a Hobie is, it's a catamaran.
What if they don't know what a catamaran is?
Google it.
It's a pontoon boat.
Two pontoon boats.
It's a fast, light.
There's a trimaran and a catamaran.
Tritoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's get into the podcast. What do you say, the episode for this week? Episode 5, Season 1 of Salvage Dogs, the James House.
Yeah, and this was really cool. It was down in Hamlet, North Carolina.
That's right. We had a salvage, a build, and a wow, as always.
Yep.
Of course, the show opens with a wow, but the salvage we'll talk about later was, the James House in Hamlet, North Carolina.
What was the wow?
So I take notes in chronological order.
Oh,
so
good. I'm glad you do.
Of all wows, this was Herman the German.
Oh, yes. I mean, that's iconic, is seeing the statue of, it was a dramatic, I guess they call it, night.
I have the Wikipedia page.
Is that from New Ulm, the Herman the German?
Well, I don't know. So, who gave him the name Herman? Is that what the guy that... So I wrote, let's start here. I wrote, you got it from a guy in Minnesota. So this was is this the same guy that you got all the...
all the iron from. And him and Rodney. And this was Craig Dale, good friend of ours.
Your narrative was that he was clearing out a warehouse. And
yes.
Was that real?
It was real.
Oh, okay.
And he said, I got something for you. I pretty much knew what it was, but I'm going to stick some on the back of the trailer because he was sending us a bunch of stuff.
So that story was how it happened in real life.
In real life.
Cool.
And
how about that, y'all? Actual reality.
Yeah, yeah. And so when we opened it up, there's the ass of this horse. And it was, I guess it was pretty much the scale, maybe a little bit bigger than 1-to-1.
It felt that way.
Yeah, he set proud, by the way.
His head was probably 10 feet off the ground.
Yeah, you're right.
More.
You're right. Once you put the sword in his hand, he was pretty high. But we put him on the trailer. Of course, the wows were always set up. So we're coming around the corner with Herman the German coming around over cars and stuff. Looked like he was riding in. And,
incredible. Because around the corner, before you could see the truck and trailer, he was sitting up over.
He was fully assembled that time. Came with different parts. Came with the torso and head separate, and then another part separate. And so the main body.
And then the sword.
And the sword, The sword was the cherry, so to speak.
I decided to try to figure out where Herman the German came from. And the best that I could figure is that Herman the German was a nickname given to Arminius, who was alive in the 18 BC to 21 AD. He was a chieftain of the Germanic Cherusci tribe, who's best known for commanding an alliance of Germanic tribes at the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD.
Of course.
In which 3 Roman legions under the command of General Publius Quinctilius Varius were destroyed. His victory at Teutoburg Forest would precipitate the Roman Empire's permanent strategic withdrawal from Germania Magna.
Oh, man.
Which I guess is what the German region
Nothing
was
worse
called.
than having to leave your magma, man. It's awful. But what...
he was... so Herman, actually, the name Herman, her meaning war, man meaning person. So Herman means man of war. So Herman the German was quite the nickname.
Yeah, and the reason I put it on there because I didn't know all that.
And this might not be. So you named him Herman the German.
Well, the story was Craig. We went out and bought a bunch of Egyptian iron from Craig originally, and we kept trading with him out through the years. And in New Ulm, Minnesota, which is out in the prairie, there's a little town called New Ulm, and there's a college there. And it is at the gate or at the entrance to the college, there is a statue of Herman the German. I don't know if it's that one.
So historically, Herman the German was Arminius.
Yeah. Okay.
And right around 0 is when he lived through 0.
Arminius Eroticus Steve.
Quintilius Jefferson.
But that's what he came from New Ulm via China probably, and landed in Roanoke, Virginia, and so we gave him the name Herman the German because that's kind of where he came from.
Here's a picture of a different statue.
Well, it kind of looks like him. He's got the sword and the little head crest and
different
everything.
Headpiece.
It's kind of funny that hung around Black Dog probably for a couple of years. And
it felt like a while.
Yeah, we moved it around. It was just we put it out front. Nobody'd steal the thing. I mean, if nothing else, it was a way to take pictures.
We always said if you can steal it, then you deserve to have it.
Go ahead. Yeah. How are you going to hide Herman? But someone bought it as a veteran out in Craig County, and I think you and I went and set it. We put him on the trailer. We had a boom truck set up, and we just craned him over onto this pad that was poured for him.
The guy poured a concrete pad in his front yard for Herman the German to sit on.
It was kind of funny how he wanted to pay. He says, I like cash. He says, well, how about Cougarans?
What is that?
It's an ounce. It's an Australian ounce gold coin. So an ounce, I don't know what it's going for today. It's like back then it was about $1,200 per ounce.
Wow.
So we were trading. So you either made more money or you didn't. So we held on to it for a while until the gold went up, and we cashed in.
Did you? And you made some money?
Yeah.
Nice.
And it was we had a fun time with him, and the guy was really cool. He's a former Vietnam vet, and so he's out in the wilds of Bath County or Giles County.
You'll know it when you drive past his house.
Yeah, he's sitting proud.
Currently, gold's going for $1,700 an ounce.
Yeah, it doesn't move a lot, you know.
Well,
I got rid of all my gold.
There you go.
You know, it's going to be hard to walk around with a 12 ounce or an ounce coin and say, "Hey, can I have a 6-pack?" You know, well,
Right. Well, Bitcoin just crashed too. So
how do you get change? We just bite a piece off or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Anyway, that was the Herman German. Of course, Robert grabbed the sword and stuck it in the deck.
That was funny.
And I was worried, like, all you got to do is pull it sideways. You crack
and he wiggled it the wrong way once or twice. And you called him out on it.
Don't break the tip, man. This guy's he's come a long way. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Herman and German, we miss you.
If you went to Black Dog during that time, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
If you don't, watch the episode. And I'm still working on interjecting photos into this. That adds another few hours of my time. But you guys are worth it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, maybe when our numbers get higher, we can afford to do some extra.
Crank those numbers up for us.
Yeah,
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Watch.
So,
subscribe. Hit the button. What's the thing? What else they say? Hit the like us.
Like us. Subscribe. Comment. Like, subscribe, and comment is the YouTube slang.
Yeah.
But in podcasts, it also helps if you rate.
Yeah.
And share and download.
And if you don't like us, well, don't give us a rating.
Right.
Just,
as I say on my YouTube channel, like us or don't. You're watching anyway.
That's right. You're here.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
So the episode then segues into the round table, in which we introduce that we will be going to a house that was built in 1893 in Hamlet, North Carolina.
Yep.
It's a 5,000 square foot, 8-bedroom, 6-bath house that has begun its reclamation by Mother Nature. And there's the weekly mid-podcast phone call.
I just said I'm in a podcast right now. I'll call you back. I got one.
Did you set that as a quick response?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you call me, I always hit something that is applicable, like I'll call you later or too busy right now or something. Mm-hmm. But that was a pretty amazing story, and we'll get into Dr. James.
Yeah,
who we call, and he's the guy who had the house built or he bought it, and he has a real interesting story.
In the middle of the woods.
Kind of. The woods grew up around it.
That's true.
It's more
Actually,
like
I remember it wasn't that far outside of like the actual town.
Right. It was, and I think it's gone now. The guy who owned it, which was Dr. James' grandson, I think. Mm-hmm. He was the executor of the estate, so we bought the salvage rights from him. And he was smart enough to know that all the wood in this house was valuable.
It's beautiful.
It was gorgeous. Not just the ornamental wood, but the frame wood was, heartwood or heart pine.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
Well, every room was like covered in wainscot paneling, and the ceiling had like grid molding in a grid molding or whatever you call that. I mean, every surface was outfit with high quality.
It was quite an estate in its day.
God, right? 1893.
Right.
Turn of the century would have been beautiful.
I wish I'd have put notes in some kind of chronological order. You can look at Tay's notes and look at my notes.
Yours are like a flow chart. You boxed some things and you drew arrows in between other things.
Yeah, I just kind of try to remember what I did. You
got to find, yours is like a maze. You got to find where it starts, and then the lines will connect all.
Well, Dr. James, William Daniel James, was a surgeon. He was brought into Hamlet after he was asked to come in from a train wreck. There was a lot of casualties, and he was a surgeon.
So they brought him in from another
They
town.
brought him in to woo him because they needed doctors. And so that was one of the reasons that he moved to Hamlet.
Because he had a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and he, everybody needs good doctors, surgeons. I'm sure in those days were pretty sparse.
Well, and it was a relatively new practice.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, he's an educated doctor. I'm trying to decipher what I wrote here, but. He died.
I'm not even going to try to help.
Died. No, I tell you, I'm terrible. I should have straightened it out here.
These were the same notes you were bragging about last week?
Well, yeah. It's all here. His wife was Lillian.
Okay.
And they started. She started the nursing school. And matter of fact, he started one of the first hospitals in Hamlet.
No kidding.
Yeah. And so he was very prominent in that, but he was early in the not necessarily diagnosis, but research on cancer and tumors and
That's
and,
right.
and anomalies that were obviously disfiguring and most likely fatal. So he was early in documenting it.
Really messing up your flow here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Cam, you're on the podcast.
Cam, you here?
Hey, everyone.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind if I could take the 12 home again tonight. I just can't get my car started.
You got it. You got it.
All right, thanks, man.
Say goodbye.
Say goodbye to the podcast, Cam.
Bye, everyone.
That was Cam Florin. He's our shop supervisor, and his little diesel is not working. So
Diesels don't like the cold.
they do not like cold.
We'll get Cam on the show at some point.
Yeah, one of these days.
So you were saying, so to finish that point and to move on, and we jump ahead because we don't find what I'm about to mention until later in the episode. But out in the barn, we found a box of glass negatives.
Glass negatives, and you
which
never,
were related to his study of dermatological deformities and
dermatological,
skin related.
Skin-related.
I don't know.
I think it was.
I ain't no doctor.
I ain't no doctor. I ain't no Buddha. Yes, and
And they didn't say that on the episode. Maybe because of the graphic nature.
Yeah, because
of
he would, you'd have somebody would have a growth on their.
Yeah, a few we held up.
I mean, there were, oh my gosh, and these were his patients and he chronicled, their anomalies or their illness in the photography of the day, which was a glass negative.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. You didn't know what you're going to find. I mean, we started picking up cool cabinets, and then there was these boxes, and there turned out to be a lot more than we took. I think we took as many as we were there.
Yeah.
But his grandson had a bunch of them too, and after the show, they became valuable.
Yeah, we talked to him a little bit.
Yeah.
About what they were and everything. I had noticed a clever trick that I didn't exactly remember during that section where we're looking at them and holding them up to the sky to see them. The editor took that shot and inverted it.
Right.
Did you see that?
Oh yeah, and so you saw
the person in
print.
black and white, but naturally shaded.
It was pretty cool. One of them I had in my hand. It looked like Lincoln.
Yeah.
And it had that beard and tall hair and long face but we didn't go through all of them. We got them in, we cleaned them up a little bit, and then we sold them for $5-10 a piece. I can't remember what it was. Everybody's going like, "You're crazy." I said, "There's collectors out there for everything."
Oh yeah,
and
manual photography nerds out there would love that.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to do a collage.
They're probably radioactive or something, but
you got to die from something, don't you?
But yeah, you said that on the show too. The idea of a collage or some sort of
something like that. You just don't know, but you got to get them. You got to have them before you can sell them, and so we got them. And that.
You still have any?
I do not.
They're all gone.
All gone. They only live in my memory and on our show.
Screen.
Our show. That's it. And some folks out there have it. And Mr. James, if you're out there and you got more, let me know. But I think I called him a while back and said, "Hey, you got more of these?" Trying to play poker.
Buzz off.
Yeah. No. He says, "No, those things are worth money." I said, "No kidding."
Yeah, that's why I'm calling.
Yeah.
If you hadn't figured it out by
figured it out. It's you just never know what you're going to find and what's got value or who's going to like it. And it's kind of the fun part of our business is kind of unraveling that and discovering other people's hobbies or passions, and there's somebody out there for everything.
Whoa, that's what I like. In fact, the shop we're sitting in right now was fun to go through and see all the old machines and everything. Like, whoa, look how they did this, or look, they made this tool in here.
Oh yeah,
they set it up to do that. Yeah.
Well, when we do the episode where we came in here and salvaged, and found I think we found the implant pieces.
Oh yeah,
I think they were in the episode.
Yeah,
but just the history of how things got documented, how they got made, and and this was part of their community in Hamlin. It's a cute little town. It really is. It's the home of the Lumbee Indians.
Oh,
remember the Lonnies?
I thought that was Lumberton, North Carolina.
Well, that's Lumberton too, but this is the whole area is Lumberton, Hamlet, Rockingham, that Piedmont coastal region. of North Carolina.
That's true, because towns and counties didn't exist back
And the
when the Indians were here.
Lumbee Indians, and we had some help. Mr. James had arranged for some fellows to come help us, and they happened to be from the Lumbee tribe.
Yeah.
Beautiful blue eyes.
Cool.
I remember, and workers. So it's kind of like if you remember that we called Judy's. Well, we called extra workers that worked well Lonnie's.
Oh, because it was this episode that there was a father, son, or maybe 3 relatives, and they were all named Lonnie.
All Lonnie's, yeah. And so the Lonnie tribe. They were great guys, but they were disenfranchised, I guess, just like all unfortunate Native Americans were, and unfortunately, and still are.
About 100 years before this house was built.
Yeah. So it's but the Lumbee Indians. It was
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
because you see those guys in the in some of the shots. You see people that aren't us.
I just couldn't get over their eyes. I mean, they were
really,
they're beautiful blue eyes.
Wow.
And they all had blue eyes. You
don't often see people with a darker complexion that have blue eyes. Like that.
So if anybody out there hears this and has some heads up about the Lumbee tribe, North Carolina had the Cherokee Indians, and South Carolina had Cherokee. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember all the tribes that were around here, but we had the Vinton Indians.
Yeah, the Roanoke Indians.
Roanoke Indians. Mm-hmm. What else we got going on?
Well, we can here's a little segue. Okay. Just want to jump back for a minute. Technically, the next thing that happens is the build. And the build in this episode is the hall tree.
Yes.
And this is we'll not spend much time on this because we, as far as builds go, pretty meat and taters, as we'd say. Pretty.
It was early.
Pretty standard. But it was.
It was like a garage door, carriage door. It had lights, glass in the top.
Yeah.
And then we used paneling that we got from some wainscot paneling somewhere as the sides.
And it kind of you had pointed out that the panels sort of complemented each other, and
I wish I had a picture in front of me right now because I watched the episode, and of course I forgot about it immediately.
It was cool. It was the top of the door had like 6 lights, and by lights I mean panes of glass, and then underneath a rail there was I think beadboard down the body of the door. So it was essentially a 2-panel door, but the top panel was made of 6 lights. And then you grabbed like a 3 or 4 panel, wall panel to make, I think, the sides. So the door went all the way down the back. You used a panel for the sides.
Right.
And then you used church pew as the seat.
Those church pews came from a local Lutheran church. Was it Lutheran, Presbyterian? No, what was it downtown? St. John's.
So, okay.
Yeah,
I remember when we got all those.
Yeah, and they were redoing the inside of the church, and these were just going to get thrown away. Mm-hmm. So we went and picked them up, and they were sculpted. They were solid oak, and we used them for just that for forever until we ran out of them. Benches, because they had a little indentation for your fanny.
That was perfect.
Yeah, and then let's see, with Courtney, kind of took it and did her magic.
Did a dry brush and a whitewash kind of thing.
Yeah, it turned out pretty good. It kind of set. We did a couple. We've done quite a few of those since then, but that was the first one, and it was a perfect example of just grabbing crap off the floor and throwing it together.
Well, I especially noted that this was a build that was right up your alley. You just looked so at home in the shop, throwing things through the table saw. Using what you got, using drops from here to do something else over there.
Yeah.
I specifically noted that your entire pointer finger was wrapped in a bandage.
That wasn't unusual.
No, and you were shooting nails directly at it.
Yeah.
you would grab behind a board and just go.
I don't know if anybody out there that's done it long enough is and not quite as stupid as me. If you shoot a nail through something, it might go all the way through, and it did, and it went right into I nailed myself to a board
Is that what happened in that case?
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it happens, but it shouldn't happen often because if you don't, it takes 3 times for me to learn. So I'll butt my head 3 times and finally I'll figure it out. So if I shoot
the rule of threes.
Yeah. So never push a tool or aim a tool at any part of your body, your finger, your hands.
You should expect that nail will continue going
that's right.
until
That's
it
right.
stops.
This goes with chisels and screwdrivers and whatever other tool you want to use. Use the right tool and use it properly.
Yes, that last part, it's really important. I noted specifically, as the camera was going to cut away to something else, you said, and I quote, "Nothing goes to waste except my brain."
Yeah. And here I am, guys. This is 8 years later.
There's a lot of it left in there.
There's still enough. I get through. I think I get through every day. Mostly.
Well, you're still here.
I'm still here. Exactly.
Well, let's. That was the build. It was a simple build. I don't think we need to talk about that anymore. I'm trying to think outside. I mean, Black Dog has a million doors and always has 2 full rooms of doors.
Still
at the shop.
Yeah.
Interior in one room, and exterior in the other.
Right.
Pocket doors and
the doors that came out of this house were incredible.
Oh yeah, so let's cut back to the salvage.
Yeah.
So back to the James house, huge house, a lot of heart pine.
Everything was stained or pickled pine.
Yeah,
Heart pine.
Which
pine.
is in that. So it's probably the wood of the region.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that
you
they
ever
build
been
with.
into Piedmont, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia? It's pine country. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
North Carolina especially.
That's where Weyerhaeuser and a lot of these paper mills grow their trees.
Yeah.
It's they'll wipe it out, then they'll go and plant them, and 10 years later they'll come and wipe it out again, and so sustainable growth.
And the grain pattern gets looser and looser every time.
Yeah, the grain, the space between the grains like half inch. Where in heart pine, you count by the how many rings per inch.
Yeah.
And that's a ring is every year.
For those that don't know what we're talking about, you've I'm sure maybe at least anecdotally heard that if you cut a tree in half, you can count the rings, and usually every ring is a year.
And that's
how old the tree is.
Yeah,
it's
so
kind of the
it goes through the molting process and bark,
Yeah.
and so it grows out. It creates another skin. So
Yeah, and so you might hear tight grain. So like oak, for instance, has a tighter grain. The rings are closer together than pine, which means the tighter the rings are together, that means the slower the tree grew.
Yeah.
And the more dense it is.
Right.
And so modern SYP, or Southern Yellow Pine, has almost 3/4 of an inch in between each ring.
Yeah, they're fast growing. They're
which
meant
means
to be fast
they're
growing.
GMOs.
So you look at what's being harvested now, and they don't build those trees anymore. They don't grow those trees.
No.
I mean, it's all in structures, and that's the only place that this kind of wood can resurface. I mean, you can find old growth somewhere, maybe, but most of it has been
BlackDogSalvage.com.
That's right. But we don't grow it anymore. We harvest it, and that's what was coming out of this house. But one of the main things that came out of this house was there was a mantel.
The marble mantle.
Yeah.
I was wondering when we'd get to that.
Well, it was a key point.
It was an iconic, might be one of the more clear-cut examples about you and Robert's technique, application of tools towards a job.
He comes in with a small chisel and a little tiny jeweler's hammer. I come in with a jackhammer and a sawzall.
Yeah.
So
there's a place and time for both. That's the key point here.
And he had Ted as his assistant, so he had the right guy, right tools.
Yeah, I wrote Ted to help instead of Mike, nurse.
Yeah, I don't know the nurse thing. That might be.
Well, that's what he said. He said Ted was his nurse,
nurse
on this operation.
Well, male nurses are plentiful these days, but being Robert's nurse is probably not something you want to put in your dossier.
I promise you it doesn't pay as much as you think.
I can tell you. I'm not sure it's not as much fun either, but whose is? But anyway, so this thing was very, very fragile, and of course you take it apart quickly, and with the misplaced hammer or chisel, you can ruin the whole thing.
It's a pretty impressive mantle.
It
was like hand
carved
mantle, of course, above a fireplace and around. A mantle really offered some decorative zhuzh, to use one of your words, to the wall around a fireplace.
Well, the pilasters are the parts that go to the left and right of
right.
the mantel. Then you have your crossheader, your breastboard,
and then the actual
and then the
shelf.
Yeah. And so
And the pilasters then were just carved, all these
cherubs, as I remember. Cherubics. And so it was put together in pieces, so you had to figure out how that was put together and then reverse that process. And Robert's perfect for that. You know, he got in behind it.
Tink, tink,
and
tink,
you know,
tink,
all
tink,
those
tink,
things are anchored in the mortar between the joints of the piece. So if you don't know that and release it, then you know you're bound to break it.
Or start prying up top, and the midway down, it's anchored to the wall.
You do not pry glass or marble.
No, because guess what? It doesn't bend.
Yeah, and marble's very brittle.
This was specifically Carrara marble. Yeah. That was one of the lower third tips that the production company flipped up on the screen.
Yeah,
Carrara marble.
Well, there you go.
For whatever that's worth.
Does that come with 4 wheels like a
Carrara? Not a Porsche Carrera. Yeah, it's either white or blue-gray in color. Obviously, this was white.
This was beautiful. And we got it home, got it all stabilized and in a crate, and then we put it up on a shelf.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that, because I think about 2 years later, I was putting something up high with a forklift
on top of it,
and I think I broke it.
You didn't break it; you broke the surround. There was a wrought iron or a cast iron surround.
Oh, okay.
Very ornate, beautiful.
I can still remember the veins in Robert's.
Oh my God!
I don't think I've ever been yelled at to that degree that I did that day, and I just remember thinking I didn't realize a human could get this mad, and you know, because he spent 6 hours of his day taking it out. It's worth potentially $10,000. That's what we said.
I think we had 12 on it, but
yeah. And here I go stacking something on top of it.
Well, it wasn't. You didn't break the mantle because it was in a crate, but we had the surround, which they call it the summer cover, which in the summer you put it in front because you're not burning. Yeah. And in the winter you take it off, and this is beautiful. And it only broke in one spot. We were able to fix it. I
couldn't remember how badly I broke it. I just remember
you
getting
didn't
yelled at.
Destroy
I think
it.
I blacked out.
Yeah, probably. It's one of those trauma things. Robert, he's a little easier going these days. Sometimes
I'm not going to say I didn't deserve it, but
no, you didn't deserve it because it was an accident. But learning to be cautious around our store has always been a problem. Because, hey, I fixed that, but I broke that in the meantime,
I think after that I wrote on the side of the box, mantle, fragile, marble,
Call Robert.
Or don't.
No, just call him and say, I got to get up there, Robert.
Do it.
Yeah. But
that was the mantle.
So we ended up having that for a long time. And then we had a exhibit at the Taubman Museum.
Yeah, here in Roanoke.
Hunt Slocum.
Sloanum.
Mm-hmm. Is it Sloanum? Okay, Hunt. Hunt was the first name.
Yes.
He made he's an artist and made his millions with bunnies.
There you go.
I just need something like that. But it's kind of funny. The first time that I met him, he was walking around our store, and if you know me, I just walk up and stick my hand out and say, "Hey," And so he was wearing this jacket that had nothing but bunnies on it. It was very nice.
How can you not introduce
yourself? And so I said, "Hey, nice jacket," and I don't think he knew what to think about me, So
that can't be the first time he's heard that.
Well, for me it was. So, but a real nice guy, and so he had this exhibit of his art form in the Taubman, and we let them use this mantle.
Interesting. I remember the arched doorway when you went, but I don't remember the
arched doorway was for the same one, I think. Yeah. And to let you know, the Taubman Museum of Art is our museum downtown. It's really a kind of a spacey looking building. I forget who designed it, but it's kind of spaceshipy.
It certainly is a stark contrast to
the
rest of
and
the
it got.
architecture.
I mean, I loved it, and a lot of people say, "Well, no, it doesn't go with the downtown." Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly.
Downtown's a bunch of brick boxes. Come on, y'all. Let's make.
And
this.
It's beautiful, and so now it's part of the architecture, part of the scene. But we, Jim Hudson, who was the
former director of operations or something like that.
Right. He was in charge of putting everything together, putting up exhibits and taking down exhibits. And this thing he put up, he built a little
He's the
format.
right guy for it, too.
It was perfect. It was
very detail-oriented.
And when it was up there, it looked beautiful, even with the crack that was in.
That was there before Robert got to it.
That's right. It was perfect. And then we hunt Slocum.
I think so. Maybe Slocum.
Anyway, somebody will correct us on this. He liked it and bought it.
Hey.
And we shipped it down to one of his houses in Arkansas or Oklahoma or somewhere.
No kidding.
Yeah. So that's
I didn't know that.
Kind of a happy ending, to that whole thing.
The happiest possible.
It took us at least probably seven years to sell it.
Well, there's a window into why high-end architectural salvage costs what it does, because Robert always has a saying, well, we've got to house it and feed it on top of removing it, transporting it, cleaning it, photographing it, weighing it,
all the stuff
all
that
the
just
stuff
makes you yawn when you think about it. But it's true,
but to bring a product out of the shadows, out of the woods, and show it to the public.
Oh yeah,
that's what it takes.
It was awesome, and
a guy that loves bunny jackets. That's who's going to buy it.
Not just bunny jackets. He had bunny wallpaper, and I mean, Google him. He's quite famous for his design, and really neat guy.
Yeah,
really neat guy.
So that was the mantle, and that was a beautiful showing in the. Robert said, "Scale your tools accordingly," and I think that's a pretty good statement.
Yeah, I remember we were kind of early. This was early still in the shows, only the 5th episode or whatever episode it was originally, and we were still learning our chops on stuff. We weren't. We're getting better, by the way. But
when all those inside jokes are starting to develop,
the
things that we would always laugh about.
The toilet that was in the attic space was
that little scene with you and Ted. Was really
bizarre.
Funny.
I mean, what a place. You could just sit on the toilet and put your head on the wall and go to sleep. It was, you couldn't fall very far, but if you went too far to the left, you went out the window.
Right.
There's all kinds of stuff. There was albums and pieces and that. And this was vintage plumbing too. We took everything out of the tub, the sink.
Didn't take that tub in the attic, as I remember.
We didn't?
No.
Why not? I thought we did.
Rob, maybe you and Ted did, but when Robert went in there, he said that is going to stay right there.
Yeah, and maybe it did. Again, I'd have to look back.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It was 3 stories up, 3.5 stories up.
Yeah,
so,
big ass cast iron tub.
We've taken tubs downstairs before, and with different success stories.
Every possible method you could imagine.
Sliding. Gravity's a wonderful thing, as long as you're not worrying about the treads.
As long as you're not between the tub and gravity, you'll be okay.
There's something about that. It's not the falling, it's the stopping that gets you.
And then, there's the idea of us salvaging in a building that's going to be used again.
Right.
Like, hey, don't tear up the treads.
Yeah,
don't
we
tear
have
up
to
the
take.
floor.
We have to take out another rider.
That's a tough one.
We
for
make
us.
sure Robert is running ahead of us.
Running point.
Yeah, setting it up because he understands. He understands gravity too. He understands us. So that's set it up so they can't fail. Yeah,
much.
And we'll give it our best shot.
Yeah. Well, then we move out to the barn. So this property,
right,
big ass house, and then a barn not far, kind of in the woods.
It was a probably a stable.
Yeah.
Carriage stable
with an attic room. Was quite big.
Yeah.
The attic area.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe the carriageman lived there.
The carriageman.
Carriageman.
Sure.
I'm sure there's a name for it.
Man of the carriage.
Yeah. And it had this. It was upstairs, so there's no stairs to it.
So it's just up, no stairs.
Well, they had a ladder that went. If you looked on the inside, it's kind of hard to see, but a ladder that went up.
Yeah.
But the door didn't have any stairs.
I didn't remember that. I'm like, why are we going out the window? No stairs.
No stairs.
But so stuff the as I wrote, dirty cabinets and hutch that were up there.
Well, yeah,
must have been shoved through that window.
It had to have gone in one way unless it was built there, and a lot of times it is built in place.
Yeah.
So these were you do your measurements, and because I fell in love with this cabinet, it was green and it had sliding glass doors.
Yeah, the green cabinet.
I wanted it. It was part of the deal. We salvaged. If we could take whatever we could carry, and this was one of the pieces that I really fell in love with. So I was going to get it out.
It was cool.
And so this is where my rigging started to come into play. Rigging up a purchase that we can control the load, and then, the last minute throwing the ladder underneath it and letting it slide down, and it was perfect. It was kind of set the tempo for salvage to come. That this is part of what we have to do. We didn't have a piece of equipment to get in there. We had to hot dog it, cowboy it, so to speak.
That's right.
And,
cowboy physicist.
That's all right.
It's you at work.
I always say I'm a cowboy physics major. No, cowboy physicist.
Physicist.
Using cowboy physics.
Yeah.
And that's just horse sense, common sense.
Yeah.
You gotta be smarter than gravity.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, because gravity will always win.
Always.
There's no doubt.
It's always trying real hard.
Yeah.
This was, I feel like watching you trying to extricate some furniture from a window with rope and a ladder.
That's my happy place.
It's compelling to watch because we've all been at like Thanksgiving or around the holidays where your uncles are standing around and someone tries to utilize all this extra human power, and they're like, hey, since everyone's here, help us move this bed that's been in the attic.
Yeah.
And just watching people try to move heavy things with a barely plan.
You can only do that with family.
And it's a popcorn moment watching you try to
and everybody's usually sloshed by that time. We've knocked out a better part of a bottle of bourbon, and you're always a little on the edge, or liquid courage, we always call it.
So you don't want to stop watching. You're like, how could this go wrong?
Yeah, this is it.
And that's what this was.
It becomes a spectator sport.
Yeah.
And we had Delaney's on that one. They helped us on that one. And
I was there with a less than positive attitude. The camera shows me going like, I guess he wants it for some reason.
Yeah.
And me now looking back, I'm like, come on, man. Have a little more. Well,
didn't you leave from that job to come back up and take a test or something?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that later. So leaving this job, I drove separate because I had, I guess, a final exam in college or something.
We spent 2 days on this job, by the way.
Yeah.
At least.
And I got one of my more impressive speeding tickets driving home from this job.
You were driving your Mustang?
My BMW.
BMW.
It was the 04 BMW 330 Ci, 6-speed that I loved.
So he took off, left us alone. He had to go take a test.
And I'm driving through, I don't know what highway, but it was Troy, North Carolina is where I got to. And I was racing a guy and his girlfriend in a Hyundai Tiburon. No, Veloster, those turbo hatchbacks. And my car was all lowered with wheels and,
So
whatever.
You couldn't help yourself. How old were you?
I couldn't.
16, 17?
19, maybe.
No, you weren't that old.
18.
Yeah.
Well, no, we didn't start the show until I was at least 18.
Okay.
So I was either 18 or 19.
All right. Young.
And I was in college, not high school, so at least 18.
Yeah.
But no impulse control whatsoever. I
Foot down.
dropped 2 gears and raced this guy straight past a cop. I think I hit at one point 110, 120 miles an hour. And we were slowing down when the cop shot us with radar.
Yeah.
And I clocked in. He got me going 98 and a 65.
Yeah. If they'd have caught you over 100, I always say they put you under the jail.
I mean, it was well past reckless driving.
You're going to jail, boys.
Yeah.
Pull out your credit cards.
Yeah. He had every right to arrest me on the spot.
Right.
In fact, what should have happened was me being arrested and the car being impounded.
Right.
But what did happen was a stern talking to and a ticket, which
You had to go to court.
I didn't.
But
So
you
later,
had to hire a law.
after I got home and told y'all and got properly reprimanded, I got somehow lawyers in the air when an infraction gets,
Dude, it's all on the
they
internet
all
now.
know.
They know.
And so I
yeah.
got 10 letters from lawyers local to that area, and one of them's name was Walter Jenkins, and Mr. Jenkins went to court for me.
Yep.
And I think it was a $500 or $600 out of pocket fine, and the whole thing was
You're like expunged.
taken
they call
care
it.
of.
Yeah. Well, that I remember you calling and saying that you did that. It's like, that's going to hurt.
That was a high score.
Yeah.
For me.
I'm sure it was still insured by your mom and I.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was not on my own insurance yet. But shout out to Allstate.
Yeah,
Sticking with me.
Sticking with it. Didn't won't. Yeah, we got. Well, yeah, me too. Again, I know who your dad is, so we're all at risk.
Yeah, we've all had our moments.
Yeah.
That and one other lesson I learned to keep the fast stuff on the track and drive like a sensible adult on the road.
You got to get it out of your system.
Oh, I had a lot to get out of the system.
You can go out to what's the local raceway? Virginia VRI?
VIR. Yeah. And
yeah.
I did with that car later.
Yeah.
And it felt way better.
Yeah. It's liberating when you can do it where you don't have to look in your mirror to see if there's a cop out behind you.
Yeah.
I didn't speed a whole lot. When we had that Porsche, I got it up to 125.
It's crarazy when you drive a car that's meant to go that fast.
You just think about Indy and NASCAR, and these guys are idling at 100 and 120.
Yeah.
And when they start almost pushing 200, it's like, no, thank you.
But in a car meant to do that.
Yeah.
There's a difference between driving like a Hyundai Elantra at 90 miles an hour and everything feels like it's about to shake apart.
Sloppy old Bonneville or something.
Or a nice newer BMW at 120.
It does make sense.
Oh, because the Autobahn, they're all made to.
Oh, it was German.
The Autobahn.
Hey, we got Herman the German. We could get him a BMW.
If his horse was made in 2022, it would be a BMW.
Yeah, BMW, that's right.
So we got the barn. Anyway, back to the salvage. We pushed the cabinet out the window, down the ladder, into the back of the truck.
The truck, just 1, 2, 3.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We then chronologically found the glass negatives. We talked about that. And the marble mantle, slow progress, 6 hours, but that got boxed up and extricated. So we're putting a bow tie on the whole salvage here by this point.
Robert did let me come in at the end and help with the logistics of packing because he knew I would perform.
You are the load master.
I'm the load master.
That's right.
As I have spatial management proclivities.
Spatial awareness.
Yeah, not spatial awareness. Well, maybe. But, when you're packing something, I always say you don't want any air left in it.
You played Tetris.
Exactly.
It's a game of Tetris.
Exactly. So you have to know what you got going in. You got to hold them up, and then you got to have a stream of guys handing you stuff, and so we set this thing up for success. It arrived at Black Dog no less for wear than it left the house.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is all you can ask for.
Yeah. We got it there. There's always opportunity along the way to screw it up.
So much.
Yeah, even not being tied down, something broke. I hit a pothole and something let go, or
load shift.
It's always a mystery sometimes when you open the door and things became adrift, so to speak.
Right.
In boating, you don't let anything drift. You always secure it. And I don't care what it is,
because it will drift.
It will find another way. Gravity will rule, and it will end up somewhere else.
If we named our episodes, this episode would be called "Gravity Always Wins."
Thank you, Dr. James.
But that was it. That was the James house. That was the Hall tree. That was the Herman the German. That was episode 5 of season 1 of Salvage
I enjoyed
Dogs.
watching it. And one thing I've really started to enjoy, about prepping for this podcast is I'm watching them all again.
Yeah.
And it was good. We had fun, and you saw our characters start to build, and how I always had me and Ted always had the witty comeback.
Always.
That was and it became an issue with Robert sometimes, but because we'd be snarky.
Yeah.
He
may not have thought it was time for jokes.
Yeah.
But you and Ted, it's always time for jokes.
It's always time for jokes. You got to laugh, guys. I don't care. If you can laugh when you wake up, or at least smile.
Yeah.
And go to bed the same, you got a blessed day.
That was a through tone of the show, really. And I think why we were able to survive so much brutal hard work was that we had fun doing it.
Yeah. And
because I always tell people, do you guys really have that much fun? I'm like, well, yeah, because without all the fun, the only thing left is hard work.
The pain. Yeah. And that goes through life anyway. That's something to take with you wherever you are. Just, try to enjoy it. It can suck, but.
And it will at points.
And it'll be over shortly, hopefully. And if not, then find something positive about it.
Yeah.
It's hard to do in these days and times. And there's plenty of opportunity to get all wound up in the negative, and let's stay in the positive, everybody.
The quest for the positive.
Yeah, that's right. Let's stay up. Let's Love one another right now. Right now.
Right now.
I forget who that was. But that's a
Oh, I thought you were making that up as
no,
original.
no, that's a song.
Sounds like a Frank Sinatra deal.
No, I think it was Jefferson Airplane or something.
Well, it is currently 5:34 p.m. on what's today?
17th.
The November 17th, heading into the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yep,
In fact, this is our last episode before Thanksgiving. The next one, well, I guess we're scheduled to film the next one on Thanksgiving, but
maybe
we can do it. I'll bring all this to y'all's house, and we can.
Oh, that'd be fun.
We'll do one around the fire pit.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So, find things to be thankful for. There's so much to be thankful for.
Yep.
Friends, family, pets,
Family.
employment, health.
That's right. All of the above. Just be grateful. Have a lot of gratitude. That'll carry you a long way. Just no matter what. Your dogs, somebody that's down in trying to leave the world a little better than you found it.
That's all we can do.
Every day, because you're only here now.
That's right.
Now.
Herman was here in 17 BC, and we're here now.
Yeah.
And,
and I think that's
that was his now, and this is our now.
This is, I'm wondering what Herman would say would be his adios sign-off mantra, but I guess it's just...
See you along, I guess,
Yeah.
for now, I guess.
All right, everybody.
Well, as always, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, rate. Audio versions of the podcast are available everywhere. Video versions of the podcast are available at the Black Dog Salvage YouTube channel. Anything
Under
you want to
podcast.
plug? Anything coming up with Black Dog?
Shop early, shop often.
Do you have any Black Friday, Thanksgiving sales?
Yeah, we got. We're going to have things every Saturday. Kind of an open house, customer appreciation. Come on by.
Hey,
throughout the rest of the year, and next year, and probably the year after that. But
always appreciate
it's just having have beer and wine and food and extra vendors, music. So it's
the weekends are holiday weekends at Black Dog.
Well, I'm trying to make them a little more upscale, happy, and hopefully the cash register will ring.
Got to ring that cash register.
It's part of a capitalist society. You gotta buy something.
We would prefer you to buy something. It sure would help a lot.
BlackDogSalvage.com.
That's right.
All right. LiftArcStudios.com.
Yeah, I made a knife recently. It seems that my YouTube channel is on a trend of making weapons, and some people have let me know that that's irresponsible, but it sure is fun.
Well, it's not irresponsible. It's not making a weapon that's irresponsible. It's how you use it.
I was sent a cheap anvil for free from this company that wants to sponsor my YouTube channel, Lift Arc Studios on YouTube. And I figured the best way to test the anvil was to take some steel, bang it into a knife shape, and then grind it completely into a knife shape. So, it's 836 steel, so it can never be hardened, really. But
okay, well,
but it's a knife shape.
You know the metallurgy, but it's got all the properties of a knife.
It will do knife things.
You can probably do a couple of jabs with it and be done.
If you're listening to this, you'll be listening to this next Monday. So this video is currently live on the Lift Arc Studios YouTube. So support me by watching there. We are starting a Patreon soon, so excited about that.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Walker and I are banging our heads together trying to figure that out, but a lot of people have told me they want me to do it. Do
Patreon. Do what's the other one? The other, I forget. There's another one.
You're on Cameo.
I am, but I don't know if anybody knows what Cameo is. It's just, hey, I'll give you a person. Hey, here I am. It's a Cameo. That was terrible.
That's the best explanation ever. Cameo is like, hey, but it is.
It's a cameo.com, and you can go.
It's an app.
It's an app. You can go to and ask celebrities or sports folks,
personalities.
Yeah, personalities to do a personal message for you.
So you can pay America's Mike Whiteside to wish your friend a happy birthday, wish your friend a bad birthday.
It's pretty cheap.
He'll say whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, within reason. I do have
Cameo.
I do have some ethics.
There you go.
But anyway, cameo.com, look me up. I'd love to give you a personal message to your mom. I mean, I get a lot of older folks getting my Cameo from their daughters and sons.
Yeah.
I say older folks, people like me.
Sure.
That's my
The
demographic.
60-60s was always our demographic.
Yeah, we won't go there.
That's all right.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the episode anyway. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching.
Be good to yourself.
Next week, we'll be talking about the next one.
Whichever one that is. I don't even know now. I won't be over-prepared, I promise.
Well, until then.
See you, buddy.
This was the Black Dog Salvage Podcast.
See you later.
Another one in the books.
Yeah. Yeehaw!
Yeah.